Hey guys, it's Rob Carson, who is ready for another edition of the Rob Carson Show. I am.
It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Hello, welcome to the show. Barring computer problems, we're going to have a very good show tonight. Hello and welcome. Glad to have you here. Woo! It's been a long day, been a long day. A lot of good news to get to and a lot of bad news to get to, and we will cover that and, maybe have some fun as well. So, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. Going to talk a little bit about Donald Trump's canceling of the Kim Jong-un, Il's dead, because he was ill. And also, Solo, the new movie Solo, Star Wars, headed for the worst box office of any Star Wars movie. Nancy Pelosi is just, I don't know, she's mentally deranged. Going to talk a little bit about a little town hall she did with Chris Cuomo. Got some audio and video from that. Mike Pompeo gets in a fight with Democrat New Mexico Senator Tom Udall. What's a really stupid question. Bill DeBlasio talks about the national anthem protests, and they're an expression of pain. Oh, I've got so much stuff to get to. So much. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook, it is Rob Carson Show. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it is Rob Carson. So let's get started. Let's get this party started. Donald Trump issued a warning to North Korea late today, hours after he canceled a planned nuclear disarmament summit. U.S. forces, he said, are ready to fight tonight. Wow. Pentagon Joint Staff Director General Kenneth McKenzie told reporters that American military forces in South Korea are in a high state of vigilance, adding that the U.S. is always prepared to respond to provocations from Kim Jong-un's dictatorship because they have proven to be unpredictable in the past. I want to play a little bit of the president here. And then I've got a few comments that I'd like to make about why he's doing this. How's that sound?
Based on the recent statement of North Korea, I have decided to terminate the planned summit in Singapore on June 12th. While many things can happen and a great opportunity lies ahead potentially, I believe that this is a tremendous setback for North Korea and indeed a setback for the world. I've spoken to General Mattis and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and our military, which is by far the most powerful anywhere in the world, that has been greatly enhanced recently, as you all know, is ready if necessary. North Korea has the opportunity to end decades of poverty and oppression by following the path of denuclearization and joining the community of nations.
Okay, now here's why Trump is doing this. Something that was said by Mike Pence. Okay, Mike Pence basically had some bad things to say about North Korea. He said that North Korea could end up like Libya if it doesn't make a deal with Trump. North Korea's vice foreign minister, Ko Sud-Hui, fired back, calling Pence a political dummy, ignorant, and stupid. That led to a call off of the Singapore face-to-face meeting with Kim Jong-un. Now, here's the thing. Kim Jong-un thinks that maybe he's dealing with Madeleine Albright and Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. Maybe that's what it's all about. I think that's probably what it's all about. So he thought that because maybe, hey, I've got a meeting with the president of the United States, so I'm going to put my feet up on the coffee table. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait till the summit. No. Not at all. Donald Trump called his bluff. He relaxed his defenses, and the government decided to go after Mike Pence. And Donald Trump says, honestly, I got to tell you, North Korea, as much as we consider them to be formidable, and they could do a lot of damage to. Don't get me wrong, to South Korea, Japan, and whatever. But at the same time, this is a Korean leader who thought he was going to get the same thing that his father had gotten in years past from the United States when we capitulated to them and we relaxed sanctions, and they were able to enrich themselves and continue to exist and all of that stuff as dictators in the country. You're not dealing with that anymore, fat boy. And right now, in his arrogance and hubris, he, thought that perhaps he could lie enough to be, enough to convince the Obama administration to relax sanction, or the Clinton administration to relax sanction, just enough so they could be, the government could be enriched again. Along comes this guy. We will agree to a summit. He walks across, Kim Jong-un walks across the DMZ, and everything is fine and dandy, and he shakes hands, and Kim Jong-un goes back to his palace, and he puts his feet up, and he puts his hands back, and he goes, "Oh, man, I'm playing them mother scratchers." And Donald Trump is saying, no, you're not. I will walk away from the deal. This is the art of the deal. You got to walk away from the deal.
If and when Kim Jong-un chooses to engage in constructive dialogue and actions, I am waiting. In the meantime, our very strong sanctions, by far the strongest sanctions ever imposed,
yes,
and maximum pressure campaign will continue, as it has been continuing.
And it's working.
But no matter what happens and what we do, we will never, ever compromise the safety and security of the United States of America.
Thank you.
It's possible that the existing summit could take place, or a summit at some later date.
But it ain't happening now.
Nobody should be anxious. We have to get it right.
Ain't happening now.
Mr. President, you said you have a wonderful dialogue with Kim Jong-un. We have a wonderful dialogue. We have a wonderful... there's been a very good working relationship. It started with the hostages coming back home.
There you go.
The hostages came home. We didn't have to pay. We wouldn't have paid.
Thank you.
But they came back home. They're now safely ensconced in their houses, and they're very happy and thrilled, and they never thought it was going to happen. So the dialogue was good until recently, and I think I understand why that happened. Why was that? And I won't say that. Someday I'll give it to you. You can write about it in a book.
You can write about it in a book. Bravo. He's playing him, man. And honestly, guys, yes, there are lives at risk here. There's also one fat man who lives in North Korea, and he has a cultish control over the country, and he could lose that. And let's just be honest here. We are the most powerful military power in the history of the universe, as far as we know it. And we're not going to be played by this son of a, we're not going to be played by him. He's been able to, and his family's been able to play the United States before, but he's not going to play us. We crushed ISIS in the Middle East with Donald Trump as the president by telling General Mattis to take the gloves off. You don't have to wait to be engaged by the enemy. You go kick their asses before they can fire a shot at you. You don't wait to be shot at to shoot back. I hate the fact that we are so afraid of ourselves. We are so afraid that we are so powerful that we feel like we need to bend over for these little podunk dictatorships. And I've said this before. It's like you've got an arsenal and they've got a firecracker. And I'm going to say you may hurt people and kill people, and it's awful. I get it, but you're going to be crushed to dust. You are going to be melted into sand. You are going to nothing will exist of you. Don't F with us, man. We are a kind and benevolent and wonderful people. But if we are provoked, you keep poking that pit bull. Keep poking that pit bull. Bring it. Bring it. All right. Off the subject of politics. The spinoff of the first of the new Star Wars movies is, I guess, Solo, a Star Wars story about Han Solo. They're tracking to open this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, with $130, maybe $150. Low end of expectations. To date, the Memorial Day weekend record holder, top domestic launch, 2007's Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, and it was wonderful. $139 million, not adjusted for inflations. Solo is opening in most points around the globe. Blah, 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 blah. They projected a worldwide opening of $300 million this weekend. Now, Ron Howard is directing this. There were two directors. They had differences. Ron Howard took over. So I don't know. I think Jim Carrey as the Grinch is going to show up. I have no idea. I don't know, guys. At this point, aren't you kind of tired of Star Wars? Maybe it's just because I was in elementary school when the first Star Wars came out. Maybe we've beaten the hell out of the genre. Maybe it's okay. Yeah, Star Wars. I get it. Let's go. Let's go to Chewbacca's past, for Christ's sake. Let's do when he got adopted from the Humane Society. Let's go there when he was a litter of Chewbacca's, whatever the hell they are, Wookiees. The mama Wookiee came in and she was a Wookiee mill on the planet Zarda. And, and they rescued her and they rescued the other Wookiees and then they gave them up for adoption. There were some Ewok, mothers in there. Puppy is an Ewok puppy mill too, Maybe we've just beaten the snot out of the genre. Maybe it's time to move on from Star Wars. I don't know. Maybe. It's been around since 1976. Was that 42 years ago? Dear Lord. Nancy Pelosi got a little loopy over the weekend. Let me play a little bit of Nancy Pelosi. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what her deal is. I think I don't know. You know what I think it is? I think she drinks. I just think that a lot of people on the Hill, they drink. And this is what I think I think she drinks a lot. Here she is.
It is important to note that the investment that we make in our teachers and the education of our children is the most important investment a country can make and families can make in wanting that for their children. We're all honored to be here with the president of the National Education Association, Lily Eskelsen Garcia, and the head of the American Federation of Teachers, Andy Weingarten. And when children are denied the tools they need, yet instead of making smart, strong investments in our education system, the Republicans are fighting to slash teacher. Imagine this: slash teacher and school budgets. Slash teacher and school budgets, eliminating Title II, Title IIA, raising teachers' salaries, raising teachers' pay.
Wow. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Maybe it's just time to retire. Honestly, you got people in Washington, D.C. spending their entire lives telling us how to live ours. That's the theme of the last election, according to moi. Copyright Rob Carson, 2016. Dianne Feinstein's 84 frickin' years old again. Or old again. No, she's only been there one time. Dianne Feinstein is 84 years old. She wants to run again for Senate. That's 6 years. By the time she is out of office, she'll be 90 years old. Go the F home. Knit something. Work at Walmart. You expect us to retire at 65 and collect a pittance of Social Security, maybe Medicaid if we're lucky? Go the F home. Honestly, go home. Take your dated ideas and go home. There was a town hall meeting with Chris Cuomo. Nancy Pelosi. God, Chris Cuomo's a piece of work. The most least watched anchor and host on CNN. I mean, honestly, really bad. There was a farmer from Iowa, talked about the Trump tax cuts, and he said that they were not crumbs. Let me see if I can find this thing here real quick. Hold on. Basically, he said they weren't crumbs. Here we go. Pelosi to business owner. I think this might be it. Here we go.
We are a small business of 7 full-time employees that provide
no video
fertilizer and seed products to our farm customers.
Iowa.
When the tax and jobs bill was passed, I gave my employees a $1,000 bonus plus a 5% pay increase that they appreciated very much. Add to that, they reduced withholding from their paychecks, and it turned to a noticeable increase in income.
Now, wait till you hear her passive-aggressive answer. Because she said $1,000 bonus is crumbs. Well, it's not to the average person. You rich, slurring, psychotic, drunk woman who drives on or flies on private jets.
It certainly was not crumbs to them. Yeah. My question is, what can you add to this legislation that would also contribute to the growth of jobs and wages in our country?
Well, she can't add anything because if they have a blue wave, whatever the hell that means, she's going to raise taxes again.
Thank you, John. And let me congratulate you and commend you because you're a rarity.
Yes.
Not many business, only a small percentage of businesses shared their tax advantage.
Show me. Okay, wait a minute. This hag from hell is talking to a farmer who is grateful that he finally had his taxes cut. He was not being punished anymore. And this hag from hell, who has no idea what's going on in the private sector as far as jobs, makes up something and basically maligns every business owner in the country. Yes, only a few people. Let's listen to this. Sorry, hag from hell.
Not many business, only a small percentage of businesses shared their tax advantage with their employees. So
you have no effing idea what the F you're talking about, woman. You have no idea. You have no idea what you're talking about. You made that up out of whole cloth because of your hatred for people who make money. Your hatred for people who own small businesses, large businesses, whatever. Listen to her again. HFM.
Congratulate you and commend you because you're a rarity. Not many business, only a small percentage of businesses shared their tax advantage with their employees.
She has no idea what she's talking about. There she is clapping. She has no idea what the hell she's talking about. Why is unemployment at 3.9%? Why is unemployment in Black and Hispanic Americans at an all-time low? Why is it, Nancy? Because business is hiring. Business is tired of the government on its ass all the time as far as high taxes and regulation, and they're rewarding people by not only giving them bonuses but also hiring them. God, she's such an out of touch hag from hell. Honestly, go home, woman. Go home. Go home and have a frickin' martini. You usually start probably at 2 in the afternoon. Unbelievable. Woman named Mary Pat at the same town hall basically said, isn't it time that, politicians like you maybe go home?
Full scarf you have on tonight.
Thank you. From Ethiopia. Leader Pelosi, Quorum.us tells us that more than half of the senators running for re-election this year are over 65 years old. If they win, their term of service will be 6 years. Their constituents are about 20 years younger. Isn't it time for some members to return to private service and to encourage younger folks to run for office so they have...
Yes! Yes!
Should I take that personally?
You hag from hell.
You're not in the Senate, so you're good.
Let me say this, 2 things. First of all, what I said earlier about money in politics, if you reduce the role of money in politics and increase...
You tell me you aren't influenced by money, you buffoon. You tell me you're not influenced by money, you buffoon. You have got such major money behind you from radical leftist organizations and George Soros. Give me a break. You have nothing in common with the average person.
The level of civility in politics.
Oh, really? Really? The civility in politics. You're going to talk about civility in politics.
You will elect more women, more young people, more people of color to elected office.
Nonsense.
And nothing
Nonsense.
is more wholesome than that.
A distraction.
The fact is that Congress has a seniority system, so people in different regions
Go
want to
away.
make sure that the people who represent them are in a senior position to help
Senior
express
citizen
their
position.
views, the concerns of their region. But I'll take it personally and say that as a woman who came to Congress later because I raised my 5 children.
Oh, God. You know what? I don't want to hear this. I really don't want to hear your sob story, you wretched, awful woman. Wretched, awful woman. Go home. Go home. Okay. Got a couple of other things I want to share with you that I think you'll enjoy. Wasn't as fun as the summa cum laude cake last night, right? Oh, my Lord in heaven. That was funny, wasn't it? Lee Zeldin, Republican congressman from New York, was talking a little bit about the whole FBI spying thing. We'll just pivot here real quick because it kind of faded off the front pages of the news the last couple of days. The FBI infiltrating the Trump campaign, and I've said this forever. And I said that the Barack Obama administration had weaponized the FBI, DOJ, the IRS against its enemies. FBI and DOJ against the Trump campaign, transition team, and presidency. All right. Here is Lee Zeldin on Fox News talking about exactly what I said and have been saying 4 weeks. Thank you.
It's really important to note that the FBI and the DOJ, the ranks are filled with really great Americans who they take their oath seriously. They love our country. They're patriotic. They believe in our rule of law. And these are really important agencies. That's why transparency and accountability is needed. The problem is at the highest levels of the DOJ and FBI, you had people who were weaponizing what they were given. The power that they were given, they were used as tools when their personal biases, their own political beliefs, their opposition to Donald Trump started to overwhelm their objectivity. That's a huge problem.
Yes,
Now, and here's what I've said, guys. The swamp has been filled with Democrats and Republicans, establishment politicians for years. And even though through the George Bush administration, we said we need the deficit reduced, we need this and this and this, never happened. Barack Obama comes in as an insider, and he plays to the Washington insiders in the swamp. Enriched them like never before. Federal employees make 70% more than the private sector. Washington, D.C. is surrounded by 12 of the 20th richest counties in the country. Why is that? Swamp, man. The swamp. I lived there for 12 years, man. There's a reason why in Montgomery County, 25 miles north of Washington, D.C., you can buy a $2,000 house or 2,000 square foot house for $550,000. And it's not because of all the manufacturing that's going on in Washington, D.C. There's almost zero manufacturing in Washington, D.C. Zero. There are no car plants. There are no steel mills. It's all government. It's all effing government. And those people who serve the government, who have restaurants, who have stores, because those government employees and those government agencies need to go spend all the effing money that they're making. That's what it's all about. It's a very incestuous relationship. Thank you very much. I was there. I know. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo went off on Democrat New Mexico Senator Tom Udall today on an outrageous question. I want you to listen to this, and I'll comment about it in just 1 second. Here is I have great respect, by the way, for Mike Pompeo. I don't have any video. Here's the audio.
Given that the president refuses to disclose his tax returns, how can you assure the American people that American foreign policy is free of his personal conflicts of interest?
Okay. Absurd. Absurd. How apples and oranges? This might even be like apples and guacamole, apples and avocados. This I think it might even be like apples and bathroom soap. That's the comparison.
Senator, I find that question bizarre.
Yeah.
You don't want to answer it then.
Senator,
let's listen to the question again. Hold on. Listen to the question.
To disclose his tax returns, how can you assure the American people that American foreign policy is free of his personal conflicts of interest?
This is related to, I guess, Russian collusion, which there's no evidence of. That I guess that's what he's doing. But he's made such a piss-poor analogy.
Senator, I find that question bizarre.
You don't want to answer it then.
Senator,
you just want to describe it as bizarre?
Yes, I do. I think that's indicative of my answer, Senator.
I love it.
I've been incredibly involved in this administration's foreign policy now for some 16 months, and I have seen literally no evidence of what you are.
Well, that's what I want to ask you specifically about. No, it is not scurrilously.
Hold on. He can't even speak English. Hold on.
Ask you specifically about. No, it is not scurrilously.
Is an outrage.
It's not spuriously. He can't even speak English.
Just
my friend, it is not scurrilously.
Scurrilously. No, it's spuriously. You dumbass. Go ahead.
Friend, it is not scurrilously.
Scurrilously. It's not scurrilously. Dear God. This guy's a senator.
This has been raised by a number of people out there.
Yes, sir, it has. Wait a minute to tell you who those folks are.
Yeah, they're all leftists. They're all Democrats.
I know it's fake news. Now let me.
It is fake news, actually. So why bring it up, you moron? Bill DeBlasio was on C-SPAN. C-SPAN. Dear, who the f watches C-SPAN? I mean, honestly, I love politics. It reminds me of watching golf. It's even worse than watching golf. And listen, I am not a golfer. Some people are really into golf. I can't sit and watch golf. I just can't. Last couple of holes at the U.S. Open, cool, But it's, C-SPAN is what is more boring than C-SPAN? I mean, what is worse than C-SPAN? I want to know. Bill DeBlasio was talking about the national anthem protest because the NFL is not going to allow them anymore. And, by the way, the NFL protests have just come around in the last couple of years. For decades, African Americans and Americans in general were standing for the national anthem proudly. There was never a debate about it. But we have a couple of things going on. We've got a group of millennials right now who are playing football, who need to create some sort of crisis, who need to blame something on the United States other than their own their own failings. They need to act like victims. Even though they're making millions of dollars, they need to be victims. That's what it's all about. They need some sort of relevance because they've led cushy lives. Now, at the same time, this is a distraction from the real crisis in inner cities around the country. And rather than the African American population addressing the real ills of society, murder rate 10 times higher than the rest of the country, abortion rate in inner city 65-70%, fatherless homes 70-80%. Instead of addressing the real ills of the African American community, they'd rather focus on a bullcrap statistic that white cops go after black people and murder them. And this is a symptom of that. Started with Mike Brown. And rather than focusing on the real crisis in the African American community, Democrats are saying, wait, let's focus on something else because it's going to mean more money for the Democrat Party. That's what it's all about. That's what it's going to distract from the crisis that liberal Democrat policies have created in the African American community in this country. Yeah, fight with me. Bring it. CarsonOnTheRadio@gmail.com. CarsonOnTheRadio@gmail.com. But here's Bill DeBlasio talking about suddenly in 2018, the national anthem is no longer allowed for people to sing.
Expression of pain. I think we have to understand the notion that the protests are saying we have something happening that does not conform to our American values and has to end and can end. And this is why I don't find it.
What is happening? What is happening, Bill DeBlasio? There's a crisis in the African American community, you doofus. It's not about the police. It's not about racism.
A hopeless situation. I think it's a hopeful situation.
It is a hopeless situation. Democrats have created a hopeless situation in inner cities around the country. They make promises they can't keep. They keep people in poverty. They give them crumbs to exist. They used to pay mothers more when dads weren't around.
Here in New York City, we had a long history of tensions and problems between police and community. We've come a long way to resolve that and heal that. Again, we're the safest big city in America because we've gotten police and community more on the same page, because we did things like teach police officers to de-escalate. That's something the entire police force in New York City has been retrained to de-escalate intense situations. We are using implicit bias training to help all officers of all backgrounds understand we're humans.
Training.
We have biases. We need to consciously think about those.
Really? I've got a bias. I think you're a moron. Okay, how about that? It's implicit. I know it's explicit. You are a moron. You are a giant, flaming, fat moron. Your policies don't work, haven't worked. Rudy Giuliani's did. That's what turned New York around. You giant, flaming turd bucket. All right, let's move on here. I don't want to do that. A little joke this evening. Barack Obama is saying that his Netflix projects will help train the next generation of leaders and heal our political divide. Whoa! That is rich. That is rich. Oh, my God. Did you hear that? That is, no, man. Barack Obama, no. This is the best stand-up I've heard ever. This is great. Barack Obama, they're going to do, I guess, a really boring documentary. We want to tell stories. This becomes a platform. We are interested in lifting people up and identifying people doing amazing work. We did this in the White House. You doofus, you created the divide. You did it intentionally. You created the divide intentionally. You did. God, it's so passive aggressive to spend 8 years in office dividing people along race lines and sex lines and financial and wealth lines. God almighty in heaven. Here's a story that's going to make your head explode. Boy Scouts will reportedly provide condoms at the upcoming World Scout Jamboree. World Organization of Scouting Movement Handbook requires that the host organization ensure that condoms are readily and easily available for all participants and staff at a number of locations on the site. 2019 World Scout Jamboree will be held in West Virginia, July 21st to August 1st. The theme is to unlock the world. You know what? I'm just about done with the damn Boy Scouts at this point. Why can't kids be kids? What the hell ever happened to kids being kids? Boy Scouts are co-hosting this year's program with two other scouting organizations. Andy Chapman, vice chairperson of the World Scout Committee, said the co-hosts are working to implement requirements previously laid out by the World Organization. Blah, 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 blah. News of the condom requirement comes months after the Boy Scouts announced it would allow girls to become scouts. Last year, the scouting organization also changed its policy to permit membership on the basis of gender identity, meaning girls who identified as boys could become scouts. 2015, the Boy Scouts ended its blanket ban on openly gay troop leaders. John Stemberger, chairman of the board of Trail Life USA, an alternative scouting organization, said it's not clear how far down the rabbit hole the Boy Scouts will continue to fall. All of this should be deeply disturbing to the churches that are chartering Boy Scout troops, Mr. Sternberger said in the Post. These policies present a clear youth protection problem that the Boy Scouts of America absolutely refuses to recognize. The fact that they are requiring that condoms be readily accessible and are communicating this to everyone, including youth participants, shows that the BSA is both anticipating and facilitating sexual conduct between minors at this event. These policies are both outrageous and completely irresponsible. So sick of this crap. So sick of this crap. I'm just sick of it. Let kids be kids. Screw the Boy Scouts. Screw. That's not the best thing to say after saying that they're requiring condoms at their jamboree. I just don't even know. I don't even know what to say at this point. So stupid. Morgan Freeman has been accused of sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior by 8 women, according to a new bombshell report. 4 women who worked in production capacities on movie sets with Freeman over the last 10 years described him as reportedly behaving in ways that made women feel uncomfortable, lifting a skirt. 3 said he made public comments about women's clothing or bodies. Both of them said that they didn't report Freeman's behavior, with most saying that it was because they feared for their jobs. Well, at least he didn't have a lockable door. A lockable door like Matt Lauer did in his office to keep people in and out. You know, imagine Morgan Freeman as a sexual harasser. I was noticing that you have a very fine behind. I was wondering if I could lift your skirt and see it. Thank you. Andy Dufresne. Hello. Would you like to go back to my hotel room and spend the evening with me? Thank you. I've got some funny audio that I want to get to here before we end the program. Let me look it up here real quick. Got some funny stuff. Oh, I want to get to a little bit to the millennial who got kicked out of his house by his mother and father. Took his mother and father to court. I have a little awkward interview from the millennial who got booted by his 30-year-old guy. He was on CNN yesterday. His name is Michael Rotundo. Things got really awkward in a hurry. Here's a little bit of that interview.
Michael, welcome.
Hi.
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 Hi. So let me start with you're 30.
Right.
The simplest question: do you not want to find your own place?
No.
Why not?
I don't want to live there anymore.
You don't want to live with your parents?
I don't like living with. No. It's not. It's very tense. It's very awkward. It's we have to we have to share space, which may be the case with where I would find myself afterwards. But I'd prefer to get out. I would consider much of what they were doing to try to get me out as a tax, and what I was trying to trying to do what's best for me, which is just let's try to be a little more reasonable.
It's all about me.
I don't like living here.
It's all about me. It's all about me. You're 30 effing years old. Here he is talking about saying he's not a millennial.
I would say that I'm really not a member of that demographic that they're speaking to, of that group. I'm a very conservative person.
Oh.
The millennials that they're speaking to are very liberal in their ideology.
What?
But you're 30, so technically I think you are part of the millennial generation. I don't think there's a delineation between...
You're right. But when people speak to the millennials and their general nature as a millennial, they speak to more liberal leaning.
No, it's you.
In my opinion. Do you disagree?
How is he conservative?
I don't think it's for me to disagree. I think a millennial is a millennial is a millennial based upon the year that you were born. Okay. But I think it's totally your opinion to say, that doesn't apply to me. And with that, Michael Rotundo, I appreciate you coming on. I truly wish you the best of luck. And
I am a millennial.
Now he's saying as a millennial.
Yes, Michael. Thanks.
Here's a parody from Jimmy Kimmel last night.
Did you know in America there are thousands of children over the age of 30 just waiting to be adopted? None of the hassles of preschool or heartache of potty training. Adopt a fully grown human male. For just $1,400 a month, you can adopt a 30-year-old boy, like Phil here. He has no discernible skills, has never held a job, and he will never leave you.
No way.
Every adopt adult comes with his own Xbox and sword collection. Adopt adults also come with a 100% lifetime guarantee to never go outside. Adopt adult. Don't make us put them to sleep.
I love to sleep.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff I've written for, a very long time. But yeah, it's pretty funny. This is kind of funny. American parents invented 1,100 new baby names last year. I got one that's really funny, particularly because I work at Hendrick Toyota in Merriam. Hendrick Toyota in Merriam, Kansas, right near Kansas City. HendrickToyotaMerriam.com. Website Quartz analyzed Social Security Administration's new data on baby names last year, found that parents in this country invented 1,100 new baby names. Okay. I have the most popular. I'm going to share it in a second. It's funny as hell, and it's related to Toyota. Okay. Second most popular new name was Assad, spelled Asahd, with 58 babies. Okay. Third most popular new name was Taishmara, 38 babies. Apparently, Draxler, Noctis, Legend, Ledgen, Miracle with 2 L's. Okay. Number 1, are you ready for this? You ready for this? Number 1 new name invented by parents 91 times. It's Camry. Camry. I work at a Toyota dealership. Camry. They don't spell it C-A-M-Y-R-Y. C-A-M-R-Y. They don't spell it like Camry. They spell it C-A-M-R-E-I-G-H. Camry. That's the most popular new name. Wow. Is that amazing? Guys, thanks for joining me tonight. I greatly appreciate your time. I hope you've enjoyed the show. This will be featured on iTunes for a limited time until I may be taking a break from iTunes for budgetary reasons. We've got about 279 episodes of the podcast on iTunes, and we will resume. I've got to get the downloads up. So if you would look at iTunes at Rob Carson Show and download, it'd be really cool. In the meantime, I'm going to be here. I may not be here every day, but I will be here. I would ask that you pray for my family and wish me luck in what I'm doing on the side. And hopefully, maybe someday we'll make this into a full-time gig, this video and audio podcast. In the meantime, as I always say, God bless you. God bless your family. Memorial Day right ahead. We'll see you again really soon.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram. I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.